Hello, my name's Barb and I work at Echolocity, and I'm here to talk to you today about CRAID logs. Many of you might have heard about RAID logs in project management, but we here at Echo call it a CRAID log. So I'm going to run through that a little bit, background on CRAID, and then we're going to talk about using CRAID with a Monday.com CRAID log. So thank you all for joining me. Let's go have a little fun. Right. So what Echolocity does is we are a software and project management business solutions company. We solve problems for people that are working on their project management. We also do staff log. We do workshops and training, strategic planning, and we are partners with Microsoft, Smartsheet, Monday, Asana. We have our own product called Strolami. Some little background. So at Echo, what we do is we believe in teaching our clients to be self-sufficient, not dependent upon us. And we do that with a concentric approach of people, process, and technology. We use what the people are doing in their processes, try and figure better, try and scale it and make it automated so that it moves a project forward easily, efficiently. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the CRAID log. So many of you are probably familiar with some of the challenges that are in managing projects. I think the number one is probably communication. You know, people are emailing, people are chatting, people are teamsing, people are Slack. And email is just kind of in many different softwares and many different areas instead of keeping it in one central location to keep the project to be able to track progress. Sometimes there's unrealistic schedules or capacity of the people that have been assigned to tasks. Most often, both of those things lead to scope creep. And what we mean by that is that you have your initial project that has steps, say, through 20, and then 5 other steps come in that are kind of outside of what we are designing the solution to look like. That also causes some budget overrunning, and also budget overrun can be on time too. And then many of the projects have lack of accountability, traceability, and tracking. So I mean, accountability is that someone's been assigned something and they need to get it done by a certain date. Traceability is that that was assigned, what happened in the steps to completing it. And then tracking is just seeing the entire activity of the project in one place. So those are the challenges. I just want to go over a little bit, a couple of terms so that you understand when I'm talking to them in our Monday talk today. Project management, this is the PMI definition, is a framework of knowledge, skills, tools, and techniques to help meet a project goal and timeline. Change management is managing the people within the organization in any changes that are needed, requested, whether that be a process change, capacity change. It's managing the people to move them through change. We like to sum it up this way. Project management is getting the solution ready for the organization, and change management is getting the organization ready for the solution. So sometimes change management can be a little challenging in organizations, but it definitely can be overcome and easily worked through with the right tools. Then we'll talk a little bit about risk management. We're talking a little bit about risk management because in CRAID, one of the things we recognize is risk, and risks are really identifying something that could prevent or hamper the project from moving forward or a certain outcome in the project. So we call those risks. When we do have risks, we work through them by identifying them. And then we kind of look at them and figure out, okay, why is this happening? And then we kind of evaluate it and look at how could we make it better? How could we eliminate that risk? So then we treat it and then we monitor the risk to make sure that it's been resolved. So that's just a quick little background on risk management. So let's go into RAID. So what RAID is, and most project managers use a RAID, it stands for risk, action, issues, and decisions. So you are recording any risk that comes up in a project, any action that needs to be taken, any issues that come up as a block, and then decisions that need to be made to move the project forward or part of the project forward. So here at Echo, what we do is we use also our CRAID log as our meeting minutes. And what I mean by that is, I'll show you when we get into the log, but all communications reside inside of that CRAID log. So you can email into it, you can email out of it, you can attach a note, you can attach a comment. So it really works as keeping all communication, like Susie said this, and Barb said this, and this is what's supposed to be done next. It keeps it all in one place, and it's really an efficient tool when you use it like that. Sometimes it gets a little used to using it as meeting minutes, but we have found it's very, very effective. So what does the C mean? At Echo, we bring in the C part of a RAID log. The C is for change. So change is a request or an adjustment in a scope of the project or the deliverables for a project. So it's important to assign ownership to that change and making sure that it gets followed through so that everyone understands the change and what impact it's having and that we can go through that change. So now we'll go through the other parts of the RAID, which most of you might know. Action is something that needs to be done. It needs to be assigned to someone. It needs to have a certain date that it should be done by. And then an issue is something that occurs within the project, and it really is impacting the project from moving forward, or maybe it's just delaying it some. We need to record those issues, and then we need to work through them. I love this chart. This is a chart of kind of the difference. People sometimes get a little confused on risk and issue. An issue is something that has occurred. It's something that has happened. A risk, you're really looking at it, it might happen. It might involve something in the future, might come up. So risk can turn into issues. We want to prevent that from happening. And this is a really easy little chart that, a risk, rain may occur, and an issue, rain has occurred. So it really kind of shows in simple terms the difference between risk and an issue. I think it's very effective in doing that. All right, and then there are decisions. So there are decisions along the way. Maybe a stakeholder has to make them. Maybe the project manager has to make them. Anybody involved in the project really can. We log those decisions so that it was tracked as when that decision was made and why we changed a little direction. All right, so now let's go into CRAID with Monday. So I've started a board here, and Monday we call them boards, and I have named my board a CRAID log. And then this board is particularly talking about a project that we are going to start to set up. So it's really our starting to set up a project plan. One of the things I'd like to mention is when I build CRAID logs, sometimes I have multiple projects in one CRAID log, or sometimes I have a CRAID log for each project. Kind of depends upon the complexity of the project and the size of the project. But you want to be able to track what's going on. So one of the key things in a CRAID log, if you're using multiple ones, so this case would be multiple boards in Monday, you want to keep the columns that you set up named the same type of column, and if it's a drop down, the same choices. And the reason for that is that, let's say I have a CRAID log on project A and I have a CRAID log on project B. Well, people don't want to keep going back and forth to look into them at a higher level. So the manager might want to see a dashboard. So I would call it a CRAID dashboard. I would make a dashboard, pull both those boards up into it. And that way your reporting is going to be able to pull everything from both sheets. That's the importance of keeping these columns the same, type and name. All right, so this one, we'll run through the columns a little bit. The first column obviously is item. We don't call it a task because it is not a task. It may be something else. So we just call them items. Put some examples in here. And then CRAID type. So in this one, click on it. It should tell me the choice. Maybe I'll do it down here in CRAID. Yeah. So these are the choices. So change request, decision, issue, risk. Oh, actions have been chosen. So that's why you're not seeing it. So we want to keep these consistent in all of our CRAID boards. Those are my drop downs. You can name them whatever you want for a CRAID type. But these are really common use of them. Then in Monday, we pick the people column and we use that as our assigned to column. You'll see circles here because it is a people column. That's how Monday indicates it. And these are people's emails, so you can email out of this. And then I have a finish date. When does this item need to be done? And I filled in some dates. So in this one, in Monday, you would pick a date column. You can change the format of the date, but again, keep them consistent across your board. And then we have status. Status, you can come in and add labels. I usually use open, closed, not started, so I know something hasn't been worked on yet. Backlog, closed, not met is important, I think. You don't have to. You can change these, but again, keep them consistent. And you can also change the color of them. Easy to do in Monday. And then we have what we call a priority column. And my priorities are critical, high, medium, and low. Critical means the project's stopping. It's not moving. That one item is not moving forward until we can get it resolved. High means we need to pay attention to it. It needs to get done quickly. It is impacting the progress. Medium means, okay, it's impacting, but it doesn't have to be done immediately. Maybe it's a week out. And low means that it really doesn't have a lot of impact. It's kind of a nice to have type of thing, and we'll get it done, but it won't put a blocker on anything. And then I like to use a % complete column. This is basically just for reporting purposes. And you can come in Monday and tell it to always show percentage. Just easy to do. And then I have a next steps, which are some notes. And then I always add a last update column. And that's just recording, and it's an automation that records the last time this column was changed. So then if we come over here, we can come down and let's just play with a couple of these. I've made some examples for you. So write the project plan. This is an action. I need to do it. It needs to be done by Friday. And it's open and I've started on it. So I have 20% here. I need to complete a stakeholder list. So that's just your list of who's involved in the project, internally and externally. Again, Lisa's going to do that. She hasn't started it, so it's at 0%. It is a medium. We need it, but it doesn't have to be done today, type of thing. Then we need to set up a meeting schedule with our client. This one I marked as stuck because the client has very little availability on a weekly basis to meet with us. So we're kind of trying to work through trying to find a time slot. So I put that as, and it is a high because we need it to move forward. Let's see, we're going to go to a risk. So the team calendar availability, because we haven't set the schedule, I put that in as a risk. Without availability, we're not going to be able to get done things on time and keep the project moving and on target. And then leadership buy-in, and this one we're having a little trouble with the leaders getting on board with this project, so I put that in as a risk too, and I said that we closed it. And it was critical, and we put it at 100% because it's closed. So I think you get the idea here. Let me come down and do a change. Change the meeting cadence. So we had asked that everybody meet twice a week, and they're having trouble. So we're going to change requests is that we're going to meet once a week. And then a decision, customer acceptance, or the decision was made that they will accept the project end result after we finish the training. So I put that in as a decision, and I can come over and say that it's complete, closed. I think y'all get, Monday does the little balloons when you close something. Gives you a little spark for the day. And then at the end, we're going to close out the project. So once all these items have been done. So I think you get the idea. One of the things we do in here is you can email out of here. You can add comments to a row right here. So you can also add files. So let's say there was a file that was supporting one of these items. You would add it here, and that keeps the communication that I was talking about inside of the project plan. You can also send an update via email. You would just do an @ sign. I would type Lisa. And an email would come out of this sheet, or excuse me, right over to Lisa's inbox and Outlook for us. And she could comment back. So again, that keeps the communication right here. And you can reply back to every single one of these. So this is where it tells you how to mention someone so that you can do that. They'll get an email. You can add files. Might be a little new. I haven't seen the GIF before. Add an emoji. So I really like this feature in any product management software we use. It keeps the communication here. So a month from now, when somebody's like, well, I thought we were going to do that, and we asked Susie to do it. Well, Susie didn't do it. Maybe she has some comments in here. Maybe we need to reach out to her. So it keeps it all here instead of at individual emails. Especially like people go on vacation, people are out of the office, and we don't have their email, so we don't know what's going on with that step of the project. So it's best to keep it all right here. I think that's it. Oh, you can, in Monday, obviously you can search an item. You can filter the board by just yourself. You can add filters. You can sort it by column. You could hide a column, like I might want to hide that last comment column. Maybe everybody doesn't need to see that. And then you can group items by column. So a lot of functionality here. It's pretty self-sufficient. You could set up an automation also. Like I said, if I change it to complete, that would change if I change the status to closed, it would go and set up to set % complete to 100. So there's great moving the project forward. We want to get as much automation into this to keep the project moving forward. You could also set up automations so that somebody gets a notice that says, hey, you have a CRAID item due in a week, or hey, you have a CRAID item that's a week overdue. It keeps the project moving without having someone have to monitor the progress. Great automation flow here. All right, so let's go back to our slides just for a second and wrap up with really what I feel are the hugest impacts of using a CRAID log. One, you have transparency. And what do I mean by that? I mean that everybody in that project has access to that board that you give them access to, and they can see absolutely every step, every email, every comment, every file that is associated, and someone could step in and just pick up the project without having had any background. So it gives you that transparency. It also gives you accountability. What do we mean by that? Accountability really means that I would assign something, I got it done on time, great. I would assign something and it was 2 weeks late. It gives you a accountability of when things were done and when things didn't get done, and what was the impact to that project. And traceability is really if there's any changes, if there's decisions, it tells you everything that happened within that project. And all of these benefits of a CRAID log, really the goal is to keep the project on time, keep the project on budget, and get a great ROI for that project. So thank you all for joining me today. I appreciate your time. And if you have any questions on Monday or CRAID, please reach out to me. My email is barb@echolocity.com. And it was great to see you today. Bye-bye.